High drama shines a light on the plays we saw today. I don't even know where to begin about Carol Churchill's Light Shining on Buckinghamshire. It was a slow, turgid, torturous, almost 3 hours to sit or snore through. The stage was dark. They were first one thing, then another. They talked endlessly, nothing happened, end of play. It's supposed to be about, during the Cromwell era in England in like 1600s, where him and the parliamentarians beheaded King Charles I, and they were trying to decide what kind of government they wanted, and had the Putney debates, and there were like diggers turning into agitators and levelers and all. I had no idea what was going on, and I studied British history. I love British history, but this was just impossible.
You see, the thing is, if there's any play which deals with British history, this is the play. And Carol Churchill, for me, is a wonderful writer, and I didn't have any problem with the language or with the history, but I really had a problem with the way it was staged, number one, and number two, the actors. Actors were very good, but they were the wrong actors. They have to be British or they have to be American with the perfect British accent, because I never felt this play is taking place in Britain, or is it about British history. I felt I was in the East Village, and the theatre was in the East Village, and my imagination never went further than that. And I tried myself to be involved many times in the play, and then I saw Eva, and I was like trying to say to her, I can't get myself involved in this play, what's the problem? But when I saw her, she was out of it.
I was asleep.
I was so disappointed because I love Carol Churchill. But this play doesn't work the way it was done. Actors were very good, I felt sorry for them. But what can I do? It was very difficult to sit through.
And also, we love the actors, we love the director, Rachel Chavkin, but this was just diabolically dreadful.
Yeah, I agree with Eva 100%.
I hated this play so much, I forgot to go more into the plot, but basically, I think the point she's trying to make is that, the powerless take over from the powerful people, but then they become powerful, and there's always this endless stream of the powerful taking, people being powerless. It's the food chain effect. I mean, Urinetown just did it much better, I think.
Actually, what she is saying is that the topmost people never want the powerless people's life to change. And this is, no matter how many debates you can have and how many revolutions you can have, there's always that part of the world which just lives like that. They have no control over their lives.
Shaw's St. Joan, directed by Daniel Sullivan from Manhattan Theatre Club, is that wonderful story of the teenage French girl who decides she's going to reunite France, and she wants to give up her dress, put on armor, and convince everyone that she's going to restore Charles Dauphin to his rightful place in history, and she gets burned for her efforts. This has all the Shaw witticism and socialistic bombacity, and it is a joy to see Condoleezza Riche and Adam Chanler-Berat added. And I've got an interview with Adam Chanler-Berat at the Lorltel Awards, which I'm going to do after we've talked all the other reviews. But really, it may be 3 hours long, but it is so much fun to watch. It is delightful. Catch Shaw's St. Joan.
At 59 East 59th Street, as part of Brits off Broadway, we have a special treat written and directed by Alan Ayckbourn, A Brief History of Women, which takes place in 1925, 1945, 1965, and 1985. It follows this man, Spates, who starts out as a footman at this incredible, lofty manor, and later becomes a teacher there when it becomes a girls' prep school, and the manager when it becomes an art center, and then as a retired gentleman, he's standing in again as a hotel manager, and meets a very special woman from his past. And it's really each different time period he's involved with a special woman.
I guess a brief history of women is he has a brief history with each of these women or something. I don't know, but Alan Ayckbourn he writes these wonderfully constructed plays that are just so endearing and delightful, and you love the characters, and you want to follow them, and it just makes you feel so good to watch this, and you feel so satisfied afterwards.
I agree, because it's like a very set structure of these 4 different parts, but it's liberating rather than constricting, and really gets you into the human experience and emotions. He's great. He's a master. This is a wonderful play, very enjoyable. Happy Face.
Kieran Knowles' Operation Crucible, also at 59 59th Street, Brits off Broadway, takes place in Sheffield, England during the Blitz of World War II. It's an important steel town, and we learn about 4 blokes and how their dad worked there when they first started there, and how important their work is to the war efforts, and will they be able to escape all the hardships of the constant bombings around them, and how does anyone react in a heightened state of panic where decisions are vital. This may be a typical World War II story, but the way it's told is very exciting, and this is Operation Crucible is a success. More on Facebook.
Jen Ewing saw Randy Writes a Novel, and I'm doing his review. It stars Randy as himself, and also as Elizabeth Ramsey, Biana Puerto, and other people. Randy is an intelligent puppet from Australia who has been regaling audiences around the world for over 13 years. He's almost life-size purple and as cute as anything. For almost 2 hours, he moves about the stage with a manic intensity that would tire out any actor, and his energy never flags. How does he create these incredibly real facial expressions out of a big sock and some plastic buttons? Jen was really impressed, and he gives it a happy face.
As part of the Battle of the Bards Christopher Marlowe Festival, I saw the second one. Peter B. Hodges' Marlowe's Fate is not as good as the Shakespeare Conspiracy, the other play in the festival. While both dealt with the posit that Marlowe faked his own death, and Shakespeare was a frontman pretending to be the author of Marlowe's work while Marlowe lived in exile. There were all these disconnected scenes that introduced characters that went nowhere. The 5 hard-working actors played various parts, including being puppeteers. They were so excellent that they felt like a cast of dozens. This puppet show in the middle had Marlowe as Jack Skeffington from Nightmare Before Elm Street Christmas, as a doll, and then Shakespeare as a doll, fighting each other, and a Barbie doll with the rounds. I mean, it was like a bad fringe play. So I'm giving a happy face for the gifted actors, because they were great, but the play itself, very unhappy. Fate worse than death.
BAM brought us Long Day's Journey into Night, an old Vic production directed by Sir Richard Eyre, of course, of the play by Eugene O'Neill. In this mammoth family drama, 69-year-old matinee idol James Tyrone, played by Jeremy Irons, still has the appetite for food, whiskey, and the life of a 20-year-old. His wife of 36 years, Mary Tyrone, a wonderful Leslie Manville, is losing her struggle to live without addictive pain medication. Their older son, James Jr., is a dissolute ne'er-do-well. The younger son, Edmund, now consumptive, has only felt at home by the sea, and although they're united by very strong bonds of love, the family members can't let go of their old griefs and resentments, and so they're really pulling each other apart.
I just seen this play. I did something I normally don't do with these things, because I've just seen it, was I concentrated on, there's always a monologue taking place. I concentrated on the actors reacting to the monologue, and the look, especially at the end, the look on Jeremy Irons' face, knowing his wife was gone to him forever, and he did love her at one point, and he
still does.
And it just came across. I mean, there are these huge, beautiful speeches, but watch the actors and their reactions, because they say more with their eyes than they say with a million words. And the thing I noticed in this production that I haven't noticed in others, all these characters are actually very self-aware of their flaws.
Yeah, she makes a point about that it's the terrible things that life has done to them. None of us can help the things life has done to us. They're all flawed characters, but very smart, very loving, just in an impossible situation. And more than any other play, they really had this physical contact, except for with the son, James Jr., who's more of a problem for some reasons than the others. And I thought it was flawless, but I know Eva didn't.
I just gotta give you, why I give it a happy face minus, because in the first scene, they're just rushing through it so fast, and it's like, oh my God, are they going to do this the entire time?
I didn't feel that at all.
But it finally it settled in and slowed down, and maybe they were rushing through because they were like, they knew what was going to happen with the mother, and they were like, put off the inevitable. I don't know, but I just didn't like the beginning, but then it really got
I thought it was the best Long Days I've ever seen.
They revived Children of a Lesser God by Mark Madoff, directed by Kenny Leon, starring Joshua Jackson and Lauren Ridloff. As this, he teaches in a deaf school, falls in love with the student. They end up getting together, and their relationship and her independence, not wanting to learn to lip read, not wanting to speak, not like the others. She's very fierce and determined. And I have an interview with Lauren Ridloff from the Drama League Awards after this, and it just shows how, you know, how the outsider feels. You don't even have to be deaf to relate to this. I was telling her, like, being Jewish in a Catholic town, or being gay when it wasn't okay to be gay. There's so many elements you can relate to in this, and it's just so done. And she is just gorgeous. I mean, Lauren Ridloff gives this amazing. I mean, you're just going to be at the end, and this is a deaf applause, and this is what I am giving this, a major happy face. And Jordan Auslander had a lot to say, which, quite frankly, I didn't understand. So you can read about it on Facebook. It's very political, which I'm not.
Jen Ewing reviews the revival of Kurt Vonnegut Jr.'s Happy Birthday, Wanda, June, directed by Jeff Wise. And it's an old-fashioned play, he felt, because it has two acts, a beginning, a middle, and an end, and it concerns an American hero named Harold Ryan, a fascist by nature because he believes violence is always the answer. He's a hero by reputation because he's murdered so many people in the name of his country. His family and friends have gathered for a posthumous birthday celebration, which descends into chaos when he turns up alive and shows up as a guest. Needless to say, the party doesn't end well. Jan felt it was very fine, tight performances. The cast thoroughly professional. The ensemble work is exactly what's needed to make this wonderful play current. And of course, he gives it happy face with a lot more on Facebook.
We saw The Gentleman's Caller, written by Philip Dawkins, directed by Tony Spezialy, and Put It Down. And they don't give us a program. That's why it's so weird. But it's basically the story of William Inge meeting with Tennessee Williams in a hotel room in Chicago, where Inge is supposed to be interviewing him. And
well, actually, first one is Williams is the gentleman caller in Inge's apartment in St. Louis, and it's before the premiere of Glass Menagerie.
Neither one has gotten famous yet.
Right.
And it's their weird tug-of-war relationship, and it's sort of illogical the way it's presented to me.
Well, it's really presented as William's memories from much later, and at that point he's kind of... They both were big drinkers, and I think their brains were a little bit pickled at this point. But it was... The two performers are really good. It's interesting material. It's not really much of a play, so I gave it kind of a happy face minus mixed faces, because again, I really find these two men fascinating. I love their plays, but it wasn't the greatest piece.
I'm giving it a happy face minus because, well, I don't have the actors' names, but I thought the actors really looked the part, and Inge, I loved his voice. He had a beautiful speaking voice, and it was interesting. Lynn Nottage's Mlima's Tale at the Public, directed by Joe Bonney, follows the spirit of Mlima, the beloved old elephant who was brutally murdered for his famously huge tusks by poachers who are under the thumb of a corrupt police chief, and so the ivory is conveyed from one unscrupulous situation to another. It reminded me of the movie like the red violin and the yellow Rolls Royce. In this case, it was a white tusk, because you follow it, the tusk, from one profiteering hierarchy to another, and they get smeared with the white as they go along. It gets stained with the stain of what the horrible thing they're doing. This was an incredible cast and beautifully directed, and it's really a tale worth catching.
Jan Ewing reviews Surfer Girl by Leslie Headland, performed by Jasmine Williams, directed by Taffet Towley. And it's really not a theatrical presentation. It's more like a reading or a monologue taking place in an intimate setting. Ms. Williams, for 90 minutes or so, spoke of a woman's life as a couch surfer, assumed to be a homeless young person who survives by sleeping on the couches of strangers. The story somehow resonated with mostly millennial listeners, but for Jan it seemed better suited to recording technologies. He was able to appreciate the young woman's pain, but it's not a new story and he wasn't sure why she was telling it, so he gave it a happy face minus.
A story for the Performing Arts Center in Queens is using Follies as their last show at this space. It's got a book by James Goldman and music and lyrics by Stephen Sondheim, and to me it's one of the greatest musicals ever written. I mean, from the first notes and the ghostly black-clad chorus girls gliding down the stairs with sinewy movements, I was a goner, crying at the beauty and sadness of it all. Oh my gosh, they did such an I've never been there, and it's sad, and they're going to another space now. But you had Frederick Weissman has gotten all the old showgirls together to reminisce and sing and talk and discuss old times. And while they're singing their old numbers, their ghostly younger selves are going on in the background. And this was the most chilling losing my mind I've ever seen. Everything about this production was perfect. You've only got tonight to go. Please don't miss this. It's my...
Here we are at Mlima. We just came from the Ellen Stewart Theater where we saw Theodora Skipitares, There's Blood at the Wedding, which has a little bit of a reference to Federico Garcia Lorca, but it's really more about people who've been killed by police. And she's created these enormous books that are sometimes like pop-outs and sometimes like a car that you could enter into. And the best one was dealing with Eric Garner. I mean, it was just pages after pages, very moving material, and wonderful music as well. This, I think, is one of her best things I've ever seen, and certainly one of her most immediate. It gets two happy faces, and Eva will have more to say on Facebook, as will.
Jacob Gordon's Jewish King Lear at the Metropolitan Playhouse is just as heartbreaking and foolish as the Shakespeare version. Successful businessman Red Dovital decides to split up his successful business and gives his 3 children the money. His put-upon wife can join him in Israel to study or not. His eldest daughter, Edel's husband, Avram, is in charge of everything. Gidel, the middle child, is married to a drunken youth in the house of Moshe, and Tybal is the youngest and most beloved of Red Dovital. Tybal has a falling out with his father when she decides to become a doctor and study in St. Petersburg with her tutor, Herr Yava, who she has great affection towards.
And then he suffered from his foolishness like real King Lear did, you know. And the fool and the wife told him not to be so foolish. But in the second act, for me, it was definitely about forgiveness. They forgive all these evil people, the evil children, who never even gave them a piece of bread. I mean, I cannot believe this, you know. But I guess, you know, it's deliberate cruelty is not.
And now here are my interviews with Lauren Ridloff from Children of a Lesser God, the Drama League Awards, and Adam Chanler-Berat in St. John's at the Lucille Lorltel Awards.
I'm Lauren Ridloff from Children of a Lesser God. I played Sarah.
The one thing that I've always been curious about is she wants to be independent more than anything. And yet she doesn't learn lip reading. I can understand the not wanting to speak part, you know, and wanting to be good at something. But how difficult is it to learn to lip read? And that way you don't have to rely on anyone.
Really, the the fact is that lip reading doesn't work. When you try to lip read somebody, you're taking a big risk that you might not understand someone. So to really understand fully and have deep communication and not have pretend communication, that's not a way to live.
Oh, see, to me, I always thought lip reading was more direct because it's coming straight from the person's face. So I misunderstood that completely.
Yes, that's right. It's another reason why I'm so glad to have this opportunity to have this play on Broadway, because it gives me a platform to explain to the regular community, everybody out there, so that everyone gets a better understanding about deaf community.
I know, because we don't get it.
That's okay. Most of us don't.
But then everybody in some way is an outsider. Like, I'm the only Jew in a Catholic town. So we can feel and relate to what you're going through even if we're not deaf.
Could you say again what you were saying?
Oh, like I grew up as an outsider being a Jew in a Catholic town. So everyone has an outsider, can relate to being an outsider whether you're hearing or deaf. That's why it's a universal play.
That's exactly right. That's one of the many messages that Children of a Lesser God touches on. The experience of being an outsider to the mainstream. And also not being heard. So many people feel like they're talked at, that they're being condescended to or looked down upon, and that no one's really listening to them. Whether you're a woman or a Jewish woman or a deaf woman or a gay man, we've all gone through similar experiences like that.
Well, it's one of the most powerful plays, and I'm so glad they couldn't have brought it back at a better time.
Yes, this is a perfect time. And so I want to tell everybody to come see our show.
Because it closes May 27th. It closes May 20th.
It does. It closes soon.
Good.
Yeah, so come see it.
And good luck.
Thank you so much.
Adam Chanler-Berat.
And you are in?
I'm in St. Joan right now.
I know, you get to play the Charles Dauphin.
Yes, that's right.
I saw a musical a long time with Joel Grey playing.
I know of it, yes.
I had the album favorite. What about?
Condola and I listen to it sometimes before the show to get ready.
It's a great score, and actually some of the things you say remind me of the music. I mean, so it really is true.
They did their research, yeah.
So how do you feel being a king?
Well, he's a prince, and he
turns into a king.
He does turn into a king, but in spirit, he's always a prince to me. And it feels great. It feels, I love being a part of such an amazing company.
It's funny, too. People don't really...
Funny. It's a very funny play, yeah. So.
And you still get the socialist stuff in there.
That's right, yeah.
Well, good luck and congratulations.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
And now the plays we talked about and where to find them. And Metromaniacs is closing. And Jancy, She, which is a play about Eleanor Roosevelt at the Mark O'Donnell Theater. Yay! That's my friend that died that wrote Hairspray and and Crybaby. And we're going to be seeing this too. It's about the North Dakota uprising of 1872. And stage life looks really interesting. I'm going to be seeing that too. And Devil of Choice, we'll be talking about on our next show. And a resident acting company is formerly the Pearl. And they're doing these one-night only special shows. They're doing Electra with all your favorite Pearl actors. So you don't want to miss that. And Cabaret. Fine says it has so much going on. Just go to the website because it's too much to list here. And there's always something fabulous. And speaking of fabulous, I couldn't be more excited about this. Remember that wonderful cartoon, The Animaniacs and Pinky and the Brain? Well, those creators and voices are going to be at Joe's Pub. And it's going to be fantastic. I forgot to mention the dates. May 26th and May 27th at 7 and 9:30. And my review will be on the Facebook page. I just can't wait to see that. And Rennie Harris is back at the Children's Theater. And we'll be talking on our next show at the Signature. You've got Our Lady of 121st Street and Paradise Blue. And we're going to be seeing Woman of Scarecrow at Irish Rep. And Summer Works is going on right now with the Cat Shoes. And the final Lyrics and Lyricists is going on at 92nd Street Y with Frank Lesser, lyricist, June 2nd through 4th. You don't want to miss that because they're always so amazing. And then they have these classes going on with the Alan J. Lerner Centennial on June 4th at noon, and the Richard Rogers with the Song in My Heart June 6th at 2:30. And we're going to be seeing the Diana Tapes and Symphony Fantastique at here, which I saw when Alfie was 3 months old, and 20 years later I'm going to take him back and actually get him to see it this time because he won't be a baby anymore. And the Lower East Side Festival is going on at Theater for the No City over Memorial Day weekend. And that's always got a million plays and goes on from morning till night. La Mama Moves at La Mama, lots of dance things going on. The Brick is still going strong. And also going on, and besides Long Day's Journey, is Dance Africa. And Your Alice, which is about Alice in Wonderland's creator, Lewis J. Carroll, and his relationship with Alice, which looks really interesting. And at the Flea, you've got the Deaf Theater doing Maple and Vine by Jordan Harrison. I've seen it before. It's a really good play, and that's only going on till this weekend. And the Tank always has amazing, so many things. I mean, constant barrage of shows. And the Kitchen's always doing something interesting. And we'll talk about these on our next show, Dance Nation at Playwrights Horizon, about a young girl dance troupe and what goes on there. And The Beast in the Jungle. It's this wonderful dance piece by Candor. And it's got Tony Yazbek and Peter Friedman. And he recounts his life basically through dance. And how this beast keeps him from, becoming, committing. He has commitment phobia. And Peace for Mary Frances is going to be coming up. We're going to be talking about that. And these are reviews that you can find on our Facebook page. Yeah, a lot of things we're going to see, and they're going to be closed, so go to the Facebook page. There's always some information going on there. Parody Productions always has good stuff. And don't forget to pick up your Performing Arts Insider, the cultural heartbeat of New York City. It's got all the information you need about theater and the award shows coming on right now, and the summer theater, and complete seasons, and regional, and Broadway, and off-Broadway, and dance, and opera. It's just an incredible source that I take advantage of. And of course, we're doing the entire season of Barry Liebman. Our next show is June 9th. And go to the Facebook page. That's where we have fuller reviews and information. And we even post the entire show earlier. So usually you can see it on Thursday or something earlier.